Oh, it's another day here at the Comeback Team Studios. This is your host, Bek Lover, and you're watching Interesting Times with Bek Lover, where I cover all the headlines, all the news, everything that's going on in the world that you should know about, because we live in an interesting world. I know I've been off the last 10 days, and part of that reason was I was out in Las Vegas and in California. I was flown out to knock out a few podcasts. I'll be appearing on the Sean Kelly podcast. It's one of the top marketing podcasts in the world. I made the rounds, made some new friends, saw my old friends. You know, sometimes when you have networks all over the world, you got to go and kind of see people, because out of sight and out of mind. It's not easy making a network. It's not easy making connections. It's not easy making friendships. And you have to water the plants once in a while. And that's exactly what I was doing in the beautiful West Coast sun in California. And I just got back. Happy Cinco de Mayo to all my Mexicans. I consider myself a little bit Mexican since I was born in Texas. And for the longest time, it was a part of Mexico until the gringos took it, I guess. But happy Cinco de Mayo to all of my Mexicans, my Chicanos, anyone of that heritage. Mexican food is definitely one of my favorite foods. I probably eat it 2 to 3 times a week. And there's a difference between authentic Mexican food and Tex-Mex, and I love them both. Tex-Mex is really good, but definitely clogs your arteries. In any event, we have a lot to cover today, and I'll make this episode short and sweet. So I was out in Hollywood, and I got to say that over the last 3 years, I've been there about 10 times. The energy seemed a lot better. You know, the locals that live there say it's still not what it was before everything happened 3, 4, 5 years ago. And the same is true for New York, but I do notice a much bigger difference. There's a lot of people on the streets again. The energy was a little bit better, and it was absolutely gorgeous. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was 70 degrees. I had a beautiful convertible, top down. I was doing my thing, making the rounds and trying to make this podcast rise. And I can't do it without you. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this content. I had the privilege and the honor of meeting 2 of my favorite comedians and 2 of my favorite podcasters who are not afraid to say what's on their mind. No matter what happens, no matter what the backlash. I got to meet the amazing Godfrey. He is in New York. I should be on his show soon. He invited me on. I definitely want him on mine. I love this dude. You got to check out his impersonations. His stand-up routine is freaking hilarious, and he's just such a nice guy. You've seen him on shows like The Breakfast Club and all these huge podcasts, and I felt honored just to be in his presence. And also the legendary Tim Dillon. You've seen him on every big podcast. This guy's no joke, even sweeter and kinder in real life. And I'm grateful to have met him, and hopefully maybe one day be on his show and vice versa. But that was definitely the highlight of this last trip. I was at the legendary Comic Strip Live and the Comedy Store, where I did my first podcast on the Comedy Store with Bob Wheeler. That'll be out sometime next month. There was the Netflix's A Joke Festival that was going on. So all the comedy clubs were doing something with Netflix. I got to see so many amazing comedians. I got to see my boy Tehran, the mayor of Los Angeles. This guy is no joke. Make sure you follow my man Tehran. He's named after the capital of Iran. He's half black, half Persian. I love him. He introduced me to so many of these great people that I've met in the LA world. And I got to go see my boy Maj Jorboni. He had me crying. He was absolutely hilarious, as usual. I also got to see my boys, my New York crew that lives in LA, the legendary Rob Weiss, writer of one of my favorite shows of all time, Entourage, Ballers, How to Make It in America, and he's doing all kinds of amazing projects that I can't wait to see what comes out. My boy Lorenzo Antonucci, who just released a film called Jersey Bread. If you're into gangster films, you're going to love this one. It's available on Prime Video right now. Go over there, check out Jersey Bread, and follow my boy Lorenzo Antonucci. He also has an awesome clothing line. and a lot of other cool things he's working on. So check him out. My boy Brian Rader, I'm going to be collaborating with him. For those of you that want to be in the entertainment business and you know nothing about it, you know you have this dream, you want to be an actor, a writer, a producer, work on set, or you got the money or the contacts to get money and you want to learn how to raise money, put the money together and actually produce a film, you have to check out Brian Rader's Coffee Club. This dude is an executive behind the scenes in Hollywood. He's raised millions of dollars. He's helped put together some of the biggest films and TV shows that you have watched. He has a panel. He has famous actors and writers and all kinds of people who come onto his show and his community and give you the insides, templates. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you want to break into the business, you have to check out Brian Rader's Coffee Club. Everything is in there. I'm now actively on there also. He gave me a great discount for those of you that follow. You can go, I'll put the link on this episode. And if you type in Hollywood Now, he's taking, I think it's 20% off of the monthly cost because of your boy Bek Lover. So make sure you sign up. I guarantee you're going to learn the ins and outs of Hollywood, how to write a script, how to make a movie, how to get parts in movies, how to start the process. It's all there for you guys. And it's not some rinky-dink person that's just trying to be cool. Like, I know this guy for over 5 years now, more than that actually. And he's no joke. I highly recommend it if you're trying to break into the business. A musician, artist, anything to do in entertainment. I also got to meet the amazing Sonny Marinelli. He's an actor. He's been in a lot of great movies and films and TV shows. This guy's dope. Check him out. Overall, the trip to Hollywood was great. Make sure you subscribe. I want to get into today's headlines, and I thank you for being patient with me. I have so much going on, a lot of projects, and I promise you it's coming. I'm launching a new show out of the Comic Strip Live, the legendary comedy club, the oldest comedy club in New York City. We're going to have a whole nother show with different co-hosts and comedians, and that's going to be a way more funny show than me talking about the world ending, for those of you that love it. So you get to see a different side of Bek Lover. Let's get down to it, my friends. Interesting times. Interesting times indeed, my friends. We've all seen the headlines. I was in Hollywood as the UCLA protests were being broken up. It was absolute pandemonium, absolute gridlock. I've been to LA a million times, up and down Sunset Boulevard, from Beverly Hills to Hollywood and back and forth. I love to cruise up and down Sunset Boulevard, all the way to Santa Monica and back. And that's kind of my thing that I do out there. It was crazy. All the streets were blocked off. And it's kind of reminding a lot of the older generation of what it was like during the Vietnam era. These protests about the war that's going on in Israel and, with Israel and the Palestinians has been taken to the campuses throughout the country. And you've seen it in New York. You've seen it everywhere. So it doesn't seem like this conflict is going to be ending anywhere soon. It's already 213 days into this conflict. The Times of Israel reports Hamas departs Cairo at latest hostage. Truce talks said to be nearing collapse. Meanwhile, if you look at other news outlets, they say Israel walked off. And this is what you got of people pointing the finger when you have a war, always trying to make the other side look like they're the guilty ones. CIA chief sets his travel to Qatar, then Israel in bid to keep negotiations alive as Hamas officials speak of decision line, while Israeli leaders suggest Rafah operation is going to happen. They're going to invade Rafah. The latest round of Gaza truce and hostage deals talks ended in Cairo after in-depth and serious discussions, the Hamas terror group said Sunday, reiterating key demands that Israel rejected, dimming hopes for an agreement. Israel did not send a delegation to the talks mediated by Egypt and Qatar. And Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says Sunday afternoon that we see signs that Hamas does not intend to go to any agreement. Egyptian state media reported that the Hamas delegation left Cairo for discussions in Qatar, where the group has a political office after submitting its response to a proposal to mediators, and will return to Egypt for further negotiations on Tuesday. Okay, so there's no end in sight yet. Anti-Israel unrest persists on U.S. campuses amid crackdown looming graduations. The University of Southern California has reopened its Park campus to students, faculty, and staff after anti-Israel protests impacted operations. The USC said tents and related equipment remain prohibited on campus and will be subject to immediate confiscation. Students protesting on campus were surrounded by police earlier Sunday and told they could face arrest if they didn't leave. So this has been going on all over the country. Thousands of Israelis now in Israel take to the streets of Tel Aviv to demand a ceasefire. And that can show you that this war is definitely not benefiting the people in power right now. Protesters are demanding the government reach a deal to bring the hostages back from Gaza for new elections and the resignation of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The demonstration took place as a delegation of Palestinian militant group Hamas was in Cairo for ceasefire talks with Israel. So the anti-war sentiment is growing in Israel. And like I said, I truly believe that, you know, Israel might win the armed conflict and they might take off and completely, which they have, demolished Gaza to rubble. But their image, I don't think, can recover from the carnage and the amount of civilians that have died in this conflict. Regardless of what you think of October 7th, many people believe the response was excessive and could have been handled much better by the Israeli military. Unfortunately, when you have millions of people packed like sardines and walled off, when you're dropping bombs from the sky, you're going to kill a lot of innocent people, and you're going to lose the hearts and minds of people that support you. Even if you were justified in invading and all that stuff, you lose the support of the people when they see dead babies everywhere. And that's kind of what's happening to Israel. Reuters reports 4 Lebanese civilians killed in an Israeli strike on a border village. Okay, again, remember this conflict has already spilled into Syria. We had the bombing back and forth between Iran and Israel. We have Lebanon. We have Syria on edge. Like, this thing can really spiral out of control. Yemen is basically involved, right? America's involved. An Israeli airstrike killed 4 members of a family in a house in a border village in southern Lebanon on Sunday. The 4 were killed in Mes al-Jabal, which has suffered extensive damage and regular exchanges of fire between Israel and the Iranian-backed Hezbollah group since the start of the war in Gaza last October. Airstrikes and shelling have taken place sporadically, but both sides have pulled back from all-out war. More than 250 Hezbollah members and 75 civilians have been killed in strikes by Israel on Lebanon since October. More than 34,600 Palestinians have been killed, and more than 77,000 have been wounded in Israel's response. UN accuses Israel of denying Gaza aid access as famine takes hold. This is reported by Reuters. UN top official on Sunday accused Israel of continuing to deny the United Nations humanitarian access in the Gaza Strip, where the UN food chief warned of a full-blown famine has taken hold in the north of the enclave of 2.3 million people. Now, again, Israel tries to give this image that they're more civilized, they're fighting barbarians, but when you don't let the United Nations, who created your state, who you should listen to, who represents the world, and a famine is looming, you're not going to win the hearts and the minds of the world that you're the good guy if you're letting them all starve to death on top of that. And it appears like collective punishment. So not a good look for you guys. So maybe let the aid in, you know. But on the other side, 3 soldiers were killed, 11 others hurt in a Hamas rocket attack, reported by Times of Israel. So this conflict is still going on, and the slain soldiers were 19, 19, and 21 years old. I'm pretty sure their families wish that this conflict wasn't going on. If it could have just ended a few months ago, they would probably still be alive. Nobody wins in war except the people in suits. I hate war. Marijuana, there's a lot going on with that. What's the reclassification of marijuana means for Washington's cannabis industry? This is reported by King5.com. The agency's plan would not mean full legalization of cannabis. Rather, it classifies marijuana as a less dangerous drug and lightens tax burdens for pot shops. More than a decade after Washington pioneered the legalization of recreational marijuana in the United States, sales of products still violate federal law, even in the evergreen state local pot shops. This is reported in Washington State, for those of you that don't know, that we're talking about the state and not the District of Columbia. So there's a lot going on. They're looking to reschedule it. Upon rescheduling, you know, it would lessen some of the burden. But still, I don't know why our government doesn't just make weed legal already. We're obviously in debt to our eyeballs. All the states made it legal. You know, just make it legal already, tax it, and there's some extra income for you that you can send to blow up other countries with. I mean, maybe we should just make weed fully legal federally. Plenty of people smoke it. That's billions of dollars of tax money that's being lost. And you can use it to blow up other countries instead of fixing America and places like Flint, Michigan, where my friend still doesn't have clean water to bathe in and he's paralyzed. But, at least they'll give you more money to keep doing the horrible things you're doing and not helping the American people. This story made me very upset. Aspiring doctor brain dead after friends pushed him into a lake knowing he can't swim. Now, if they knew he can't swim, then criminal charges, this is not manslaughter. It's almost like murder. Even if you're joking around, it's not funny. This guy had a promising life ahead of him, okay? And God knows what kind of damage was done to him. It's absolutely horrific. And you're not children. And to do this to someone and destroy their life like that, they need the book thrown at them. An aspiring medical student was left brain dead in last month when his friends pushed him into a Louisiana lake knowing he couldn't swim, and then looked on while doing nothing to save the drowning man. I mean, that doesn't sound like a joke to me. Shocking video shows the group casually peering into the water moments after they shoved Christopher Gilbert off the dock at Lake Dearborn in Farmerville on April 14th. At least one woman can be seen slowly entering the water before abandoning the rescue mission. Let's see if we have this video. I'm going to pull it up here. And here they are in a little crappy lake like this. And from what I can tell from the video, he's in there drowning and they do nothing about it. And this poor kid has had his life turned upside down. Okay, and it doesn't seem like it was an accident. The 26-year-old is now trying to recover. Horrible. Absolutely horrific. No excuse for that. That's not a joke. And if it was a joke, you would have jumped in right away to save him. You wouldn't let the guy freaking drown and have brain damage and go into a coma. It's disgusting, the world that we live in at times. Russia puts Ukraine's Zelensky on wanted list, Reuters.com. I'm surprised he's not on the wanted list already. I don't find this article to be that interesting, but basically they got a hit on him. They want him. Vladimir Putin cut out the heart of a deer and gave it to Silvio Berlusconi. The Russian president and former Italian prime minister were on a holiday together in 2013. The incident placed, okay, this is old news. Who cares? Okay, he pulled the heart out of a deer and gave it to the prime minister of Italy at that time. Old news. Why it popped up now, I don't know. But the U.S. is on alert after Russian troops occupy an American military drone base. U.S. military officials have confirmed that Russian troops have been deployed to an American air base, sparking major concern in the region. Russian troops have taken over parts of the American air base in Niger. Senior U.S. officials, including Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, confirmed the news, but immediately moved to downplay the situation at the base in Niger's capital, Niamey. Mr. Austin insisted that the Russian troops posed no risk to U.S. forces and claimed the Americans were safe. The move comes after Niger's military rulers ordered the U.S. to withdraw troops from the country. The ruling African junta has repeatedly told the U.S. to remove its nearly 1,000 military personnel from the country. The U.S. troops have been stationed in Niger to help counter Islamic insurgents in the region. The U.S. Department of Defense officials said the Russians were inside the U.S. air base, but the two sides were not mingling. That's just very weird. So Russian troops just walk into an American base, but that sounds like they invaded the base and took over. Sounds like an act of war. I don't know. Very weird. A massive highway collapses and kills at least 48 in China as desperate search for survivors was launched. Okay, at least 48 people were killed when in southeastern China, sending nearly 24 vehicles plummeting down a steep slope and bursting into flames. The tragedy unfolded around 2 a.m. on Wednesday as a portion of the 4-lane freeway gave way following a month of torrential rains. And that's just horrible. Can you imagine you're just driving and then boom, you die? 1 second earlier or later, you would have lived. When it's your time, it's your time. I've always said this. It's like if you're driving, just a tree falls. If you just would have been 1 second faster or slower, like you can't escape your death. I truly believe it's predetermined by the Creator. And, your time on this earth is marked. How it goes out, that can be a different story. But I think, I have family that was shot 30 times in a war, no medical help. People in 9/11, they went to work early. They came out, they didn't come out. So it's like your time is your time. I truly believe that. Mexico, definitely a place I'm never going to visit. True story. I had a trip to Mexico booked about 4 years ago. I was about to go. My gut just told me not to go. I canceled the trip. I lost about $3,000 in cancellation fees. I really don't regret it. And these stories remind me why I don't want to go there. I would love to visit the country, but it is just too dangerous. Bodies in Mexico presumed to be missing surfers have bullet wounds to the head. 3 bodies believed to be those of 2 Australian brothers and an American who disappeared on a surfing trip in Mexico have bullet wounds to the head. Relatives of the Australians, Callum and Jake Robinson, and their American friend Jack Carter were in Mexico to aid in the identification process. The relatives arrived in the U.S. on Saturday, and today they presented themselves to the prosecutor's office. The victims all have a hole in their head made by firearm projectile. Horrific ending to a bunch of boys that just wanted to surf in a carjacking in Mexico. And if you needed more reminders of why I will not visit Mexico until they get their shit together, here's the Express. The 10 most dangerous cities in the world, with 5 of them in the same country. And guess which country that is? Mexico. Safety is one of the most important considerations when you plan a trip abroad. The last place you want to find yourself in is in a country or city where crime is prevalent and foreigners are targeted by ruthless gangs, just like those boys were killed just for going to surf. The Central American country also features prominently in a list of the 10 most dangerous cities in the world, contributing to 5 of them. Mexico is a country of outstanding beauty whose stunning beaches attract millions of foreigners every year. Yet the country is blighted by a cartel-related violence, which is becoming increasingly prevalent, even in famous beach resorts such as Cancun, where tourists once felt safe. You better think twice. Now, keep in mind, America, our border is wide open to Mexico, and people can come from anywhere, go up, go down, take things in, bring people out, bring people in, and our border's open to a country that has 5 of the most dangerous cities in the world. Imagine what they will do to our cities with the free access they have had under this last administration. Google is in a trial for monopoly. The ending of Google's monopoly trial has Silicon Valley on edge. Google has a lot at stake as a federal judge weighs whether the tech giant's search empire should be broken up. Now, America used to break up monopolies. When one company has too much power, it restricts free trade and competition. There used to be a company called AT&T. It was broken up into Bell Atlantic and all these other, or it was Bell Atlantic or whatever way it was. The government used to control the telephone agency at one time, and then it was broken up. The same should be done with massive companies that can manipulate the market prices and drive their competition with unfair practices out of business. That's what they're under right now. A landmark antitrust case pitting Google against the Justice Department entered its final stage. So let's see what happens. A government win would certainly threaten a giant piece of Google's $237 billion profit engine, but the outcome will be decided by the U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta in the weeks or months to come. So we'll see what happens with that. But I love you, Google. I love you, YouTube. I love you. Keep my channel on and to the top. Eating peanuts can be very dangerous. People that have allergies, I have a cousin, if he eats one almond, he's dead if he doesn't take something right away and get to a hospital. But this time, it's not because of allergies. This time, if you get the wrong bottle of peanuts, Planters especially, the guy with the top hat, you're dead. Planters nuts recalled after discovery of potentially fatal contamination. Food Sales LLC issued a recall for 2 Planters products produced at one of its facilities and distributed to 5 states. Those 5 states are Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and North Carolina. So if I was you guys in those states, I would not be eating any honey roasted peanuts right now. They contain listeria and can create fatal infections, especially in young children. So be on the lookout for that in those states. There's a new COVID variant circulating fast, and it's called Flirt. COVID is still there among us, and these 2 variants include KP2, which overtook the JN1, et cetera, et cetera. So there's another variant out there that's spreading pretty quickly. Monkeypox is spiking in New York City, with Big Apple averaging dozens of cases per month. This is reported by New York Post. The number of cases of Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, has spiked in the Big Apple since October. The City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene warned with a high of 51 cases in January. Since October, the city's averaged 36 cases per month. The bulk of those who fell ill were Black or Hispanic, ages 25 to 44, and men who have sex with men. In addition, 73% of those infected were unvaccinated against Mpox or had only received 1 dose of the vaccine. Mpox is spread from skin-to-skin contact. So if you're in those groups, you might want to get whatever preventative measures there are or be cautious. So not a lot really going on these last few days. And I just want to thank you for all being a part of the Bek Lover Broadcast. Make sure you hit subscribe. I have tons of content coming, new interviews coming out. I'm appearing on shows. I thank you for the support. Stay tuned right here with interesting times with Bek Lover, because you never know what tomorrow's news will bring. Till the next time, I thank you for all of your support. Follow me on Instagram the most at BEKLoverNYC. I got merch coming, all kinds of stuff. Make sure you stay posted. Love you guys. See you tomorrow, bro. An interesting time.